mentioned, this report shows that nuclear can, in so many cases, get more expensive through time. So there's a problem there. As we've alluded to, we haven't solved the problem of waste disposal for nuclear. CCS is actually directly addressing the waste disposal issue, and we've got very good confidence from projects which will start going underway around the world this year, that other countries as well as ourselves are going to be investing genuine money in that. So there's the project in Saskatchewan is being constructed right now. The project in road project offshore of Netherlands is very likely indeed to get commercial go-ahead later on this year, and there will be 2 projects in Texas go ahead commercially very likely this year. And the United States example I think is interesting for investors, because the approach they've taken there is that the pricing of the electricity from those plants and the other co-products from those plants, because they also produce hydrogen, the pricing of that is important to give certainty into the future, because it's not necessarily just about the capital cost, it's about the guaranteed rate of return during the lifetime of the project. So the challenge for the electricity market reform again in the UK is to give a rate of return which is commensurate with what the industry perceives of as the risk for doing this. So that EOMR judgment or formula is absolutely critical to getting it right to enable the investors to invest.
Did you say commercial projects in Texas?
There's a package of funding for each of the projects which relies on some grant money. They're more commercial than we've historically done in the UK, because they rely on the products being sold into the local electricity market or to the hydrogen production or chemical production from the plant. So in that sense, they're run by commercial companies for a commercial rate of return. So it's not like the project we tried to do with Longana, which was basically going to be 100% grant funded.
So one factual question, very short question on the end. So there's 3 basic scales, are there? There's demonstration scale, plant scale, and then industry scale, if that all works.
I don't know if I talk about it in terms of scale for CCS. Different countries are taking different approaches on this, so it's clear that, say, the Chinese projects somebody asked around earlier on are intermediate in scale. Maybe they're, let's say, 200 megawatts, which we regard in Britain as suboptimal for a power station project. The projects Britain is hoping to bring forward, let's say 300, 400 megawatts or potentially larger. Some projects which are the same size as our full-sized gas burning or coal burning power plants at the moment. So the UK is trying again to go straight into commercial sized power plant operation.
Yeah. I mean, there's a distinction between commercial size, so that might result in the technical uncertainty if that works, and commercial plant, which is a word that's bandied around, but actually, I mean, in the US case, that's underwritten by taxpayer money. Truly commercial plants would just work in the market given the prevailing rules. They wouldn't necessarily have that underwriting, unless all plants, of course, in the market have underwriting. I mean, most electricity markets in the world have some elements of subsidies and help for developers to develop plants. That's just the way they tend to operate.
And the points I think we're making in this report, though, are that is likely to be a road which takes several years. It's not just a one-shot hit. It's going to take several years, and there will be some adverse surprises along the way. We can see that from past historical examples, and government has to have the courage and sustained vision to go through these little tactical unfortunate errors, which we don't know what they are, but it's quite clear from the evolution of, let's say, a natural gas distribution system or flue gas desulfurization, or even the waste directive, that you can eventually tunnel through all those and achieve a fully working and operational system.
Okay, thanks. Michael Lenthorpe.
Michael Marshall, New Scientist. On the technical issues, so you mentioned in the report there are all these issues around what method of carbon capture. There's 3 different sorts of technology, and they can be applied to different sorts of power plants as well. So don't we need, in that case, to build multiple demonstration plants, each of them finding different thing, and in order to actually resolve those uncertainties and say, okay, this is the technology that works, and is that something that's going to happen? And if not, are we just going to be still fumbling around in the dark, even if we do have a demonstration plant?
I think you're absolutely right that in a way we don't know which of those, particularly the three main classes of technology are going to prove to be the best. We've got a graph in the report which just shows the evolution of estimates of costs for CCS, which is on page 11. And these are just estimates, and you can see generally they rise over time, and the uncertainties get wider, and this is because there aren't a lot of real plants to go on. And you can't really place the different technologies in there because they're all mixed up. There isn't a particular identifiable trend. So we'd say that actually to demonstrate as many different varieties as possible is ideally what you do, and then you'd be able to see, okay, which ones are scaling up successfully. And they do have different challenges. Post-combustion is bolting the chemical plant on the back of a conventional plant, and you can do that, whereas pre-combustion is much more integrated. You really wouldn't want to do that after the fact. You want to integrate it into a new plant because you're processing the fuel, taking out the CO2, and then burning hydrogen in a power station. So it's a much more integrated technology. But of course that then runs into issues of how much can we afford, affordability. But I think the government is right at the moment to sort of say, well, look, the options are open, and that's why they made a mistake early on in their original demonstration to say you can build one, but it's got to be this type, this fuel, this size, etc. And quite understandably, industry, many companies just walked away. They said we can't do it. So, but I think the issue is how much resource do we have in terms of financially? The 1 billion is not going to pay for several plants, and that's why we keep coming back to this electricity market reform and the contracts for the electricity to give the certainty Stuart was talking about. Even for one plant, that's necessary, but if you're going to do 2 or 3, that's definitely necessary.
I think we can also learn, again, there's a global aspect to this, as part of the stipulation for any of these projects which receive public money is they have to make a certain amount of their learning publicly available. Obviously, the highly confidential, really technical stuff will stay with the multinationals who build the components for the power plant. The very fact that people can get a plant to operate eventually and produce electricity will be enough of a testament to give people and give others the confidence of doing that. And on the marine varieties bit, well, we're not a fortress island in the sense that we don't have to do absolutely everything invented here in the UK. Part of what all these studies show is there's a global learning in lots of all these previous examples of technology. And I used the example of nuclear again, where there are many flavours of nuclear plant have been available. You can go out and buy maybe 20 different types of reactor now if you want to, but 1 or 2 of those became particularly successful because they were backed by their governments and by their manufacturers at an appropriate stage when it was judged that the risk was low enough to do that. We're not at that stage yet for carbon capture and storage. If we build the demonstration plants, maybe in 5 or 7 years we will be at that stage.
Okay, thank you.
So, Stephen Harris.
Oh, sorry, I've got the wrong name.
Usually you get it right. I'm from the engineer. You mentioned that 5 to 10 years, which is kind of touching on what I was going to ask. If you had a sense of how long it would be before these technologies are ready at a technological level, and how likely is it that we end up in a situation where we can do it, it's possible, but the other barriers, the other uncertainties that you talked about are preventing us from doing it?
Yeah, well, maybe that's one for you to fill, because we explored that in our pathways, didn't we?
Yeah. I don't have a crystal ball, I'm afraid, so I'm not going to give you the answer you want. Because I think part of the problem, I think, is that if you were to ask me, am I reasonably confident that we can make the technologies or the suite of technologies work? The answer will be yes, because the analysis that we've done and the lessons from history are that we can make these technologies work. And the various components of the technology in the chain have all been proven to work, albeit in different industries. So I think we can make the technology work. The trouble is, until we've actually gone and built any of this stuff and demonstrated the entire chain, we don't know really how much it's going to cost. The cost estimates have been going up, but they're only estimates. We just don't know how much it's going to cost until we built it. So we're back to our our main point is that we need to go and build some of this stuff, because then we'll know how much it actually costs. And then we'll know whether it's genuinely competitive with other low carbon options and the place it might or may not play in the electricity mix in the UK.
Yeah.
Our alternate.
So we play out that scenario in one of our pathways, which we in the end call failure, and there's some other middle ones where,